More than 50 Amazon sellers fail their new product launches in the first 6 months. This is a formula that you follow. So let's talk about the math, right? Let's say if you have $10,000, you cannot spend it all on that first bunch of inventory here. This is your inventory. At most, it should take, so you have $10,000. At most, it will take 40% here. Now, what happens is you have 30% of them, 60% of the money left. So 30% of it is your launch PPC money, and another 30% is a buffer. So buffer money is, let's say you notice you run out of stock quickly and you want to reorder, but all of this should be planned very well. So I'll show you how to plan things. First of all, inventory is 40%. Just keep in mind that you're launching this product. Your inventory isn't even going to be your biggest expense. Your biggest expense is going to be the PPC and then the reordering part. So it's going to be about 60% of your budget. Now, provided you picked a good product with good enough margins, I'll have a separate video on that. Your cash flow should be pretty healthy, and you should be quickly, recovering the money that you spend on PPC. So 30% is sort of like a burn budget on launch PPC, but you need this cash, and for this money, I call this like a burn budget, because in the first money, and if you do things right, you're going to lose money on PPC. It isn't going to be break-even scenario. It isn't going to be profitable. There are instances that I'm about to show you in this video where we profit on PPC and if the product is very good. But usually we aim to just lose money on PPC in the first months. And sort of like how you'd work out even how much money you need to start. So this is one of the first products I actually launched on Amazon a while ago, and I've made a lot of mistakes in my own experience running this product and just constantly run out of stock, because I was not realizing how much inventory it actually takes to rank on page 1. I would order a 500, okay, like I hope this works out at the time, but then it runs out of stock. Let me order 1,000, it runs out of stock, and every time I was getting that sales velocity, getting to page 1, and I remember it was making like $400 a day in profit, and then a few weeks goes by, I start to low on inventory, and then the way Amazon works is anytime you're low on inventory, some of the states in the US, they will show like slower delivery times. So you start to get lower conversion, and it just snowballs, and then you slip to page 2, page 3, and you sort of lose your sales at that moment. And that's very important. Like anytime you're studying the niche, just look at these people, like excluding the sponsored results, like how much are they selling in the last months. So let's look at top. So that's pretty interesting how there is 3 same products showing like that. But anyways, let's look at the top page 1 results. So this guy sold 7K in last month. This one sold 3K, 1K, 1K, 4K, so 2K. So on average, you need about 2,000 units to be competitive in the niche. So that's 2,000 units for 1 month. And let's say you're doing everything right. You're launching PPC aggressively. You ideally want to have the 3,000 units. Now, here is the thing. This is month 1, but there is also a time it takes for a factory to make it, to ship it, etc. So that's already, let's say it takes the factory 30 days to make it, 30 days to ship it. And then you want to also have 2 weeks buffer to decide, okay, am I going to reorder this? So you should be planning to order yourself at least, so that's 60 days here. So at least 60 days of stock right away after 2 weeks. So that's 6,000 units. So that's the kind of mass you could go and check your own product launch and decide even if you have enough capital to compete in the niche. So like I said, that's 30%, that was buffer. This is where it's going to go. It's going to be that 6,000 units that will have to help you keep your product in stock. And that's sort of that's the money you wouldn't touch, because Amazon pay you every 14 days, and by the time you need the money, like you'll be out of stock on your first product pretty much. So you should have that money as liquid. It's not something that you need to wait for. You should have that money like readily available to spend it on the extra units. And if you can't make the numbers work with the 30-40-30 split, it's kind of like you aren't ready to launch a specific product. You may want to pick a less competitive niche, pick a cheaper product that just save more money. But now let's talk about the details of how we launch products using PPC. And just a quick point about images again before we go into PPC details. When you have limited capital, you either want to spend it all on inventory, all on advertising, or all on images. Let's say these are the 3 choices. You have to pick the images, like get the most premium images possible, because that's going to dictate your conversion rate. And the only way to make your clicks cheaper is by just following the formula, is to make your listing convert so high that these clicks, they don't hurt you as much, that you get a high conversion rate. Meaning like your real images, they don't have to be an art, they have to be just your financial leverage that offsets that expensive advertising. And if I have a limited budget right now, I will spend less on inventory, but I will spend most of it on your images. Getting model photography. For your main image, I highly recommend it's a 3D render unless it's like a clothing product. In which case it's just gonna cost a lot more to get a 3D render, trust me from my experience selling workout gear. But that was worth it at the time zone. Like the conversion rate I was getting on my listing, that was like $35, and like I said, in this niche it was $33. Like I was on page 1 just thanks to my image, because all of this, like they're just on a white background. Mine was like 3D image. So that's sort of, and the reason you focus on your image is that if your listing converts at 5%, it might cost you $20 to acquire a customer. But if your listing converts at 10%, it's going to cost you $10. So now we're talking about a completely different budget needing to launch a product just because your conversion rate is so high, so that you double the effectiveness of your PPC just by improving the images on your listing so much, especially the main image. So graphic overlay here, main image click-through rate, gallery equals conversion rate. Focus on two things. The main image, it must look more expensive than your competitor that gets you the click. And the second image, it shouldn't be a different angle. It should be your most best-selling, like benefit or unique selling proposition. It explains the core benefit instantly. If you're a graphic designer or you know one, it's kind of your unfair advantage to use it. Now let's get into advertising. If you have $50,000, you can run auto campaigns, broad match types, category targeting, video ads, like splash this budget all over the place because you have so much budget and you just want to buy as much visibility. But if you have a tight budget, you cannot afford the discovery phase, you cannot afford this brand awareness campaign. That's sort of like what Coca-Cola would do, for example. You have to play your cards right, and you have to understand the technicalities. Things like that, sponsor brand ads or category targeting, they will not do anything to rank your product on Amazon. That's been proven by multiple tests by me, that sponsor video ads, they do not rank your product. Regardless what other guru tells you in the space, they do not do anything to your organic ranking at all. And this is the kind of setup we launch. Okay, here is an actual setup. No auto campaigns, no broad targeting. You have limited capital, only exact targeting campaigns in the week 1 on your most relevant keywords. So this is one of the things where people think, okay, the more the better. So it's actually the opposite. You're training the algorithm in the first week to even understand, like, what is this product even about? If you're launching auto campaigns, Amazon is gonna do its own, it is getting better, but it's gonna do its own research, and that research is gonna cost you with the cost of irrelevant clicks. So you do your own research, like you do not launch auto campaigns at all, you do manual targeting, and I would suggest exact targeting for the first week along with broad match modified. Now these are all going to be single keyword campaigns. And it's all about accuracy, so you understand your product, you're selling, let's call this facial cream. But it's not a facial cream, it's a facial cream for, older skin. So you understand the specific benefits, and these are the absolute best keywords to launch in the week 1. Even though they have low search volume, you're sort of building that foundation, the strong foundation and the understanding of algorithm, what keywords to associate your products with. So this could be an example of facial cream for older skin. So this is your campaign number 1. Campaign number 2 could be facial cream old. This could be your campaign number 2. And what this is doing is, by the way, this is called broad match modified. So it's just harvesting all this very relevant long tail keywords that you can eventually again put into an exact campaign of its own to target later. This rule number 1 is just sort of the most relevant keywords. Is rule number 2 is you cannot have, also I know people say like launch campaigns with 5 keywords at most. I even recommend against it. Now the reasoning is, we call this like impression suppression. So when you launch too many keywords in a campaign, and this is also what I see in the audits I do often, you launch 10 good keywords, 1 or 2 of them starts performing, getting clicks, the rest of the keywords, they're not going to see budget of the day at all. No spend, no advertising spend coming towards any of them. Just because the Amazon, machine learning, it prioritizes whatever already got initial traction, and no matter how much you bid on other keywords, they will not get the needed spend to perform. So you definitely do not dump 100 keywords you've just researched from Helium 10 or Jungle Scout. You have groups of 1 keyword campaigns, it's okay to have 3 if they all have the same intent. Say they have the same route of 2 to 3 words that are the same, running shoes man, etc., etc. So this could be all in its own campaign, running shoes man. As long as like they're semantically the same, they belong to the same theme of keywords, they're targeting the same kind of buyer. That is an exception to the rule. Bidding strategy also extremely important. But actually, before we get to bidding strategy here, this one is negative keywords. You do not have to obviously create any negatives for exact targeting, but when it comes to broad match modified, you may want to have some control, but it is also especially more important to auto campaigns, but you'll launch some in a bit. First week, negative targeting is the number one is going to be any, and by the way, I suggest you guys have a negative keyword list. So in the negative keyword list, number one, it is going to be your competitors' names. In initial stages of a product launch, the worst clicks to get are your competitor's name. If someone's looking for another brand, you never want to spend on this type of ad because it's just so less relevant to what you sell, and provided you're a new product, you're also less likely to convert. So competitors' names, right? This is going to be a negative phrase. So that's kind of like, let's call this tier 1. Tier 2 is your branded names. Now, if you're like already in retail stores, if you have a big branded presence, it's also very important. So that it just does not skew the data that you're seeing in your campaigns, and you can optimize it properly as well. So branded names. So also negative phrase. Now the third one is just your own research of keywords you've done. It could be like either a material that's not suitable for you, color, function, design. It's a kind of research you do in the first place that also seems boring, but it just saves you so much of your money in the long run for your product launch, and it helps you to use that capital. Like I mentioned in the very first points of my video, use it for that buffer, which is your initial stock, and you see like there is a chance this probably gonna even be bigger than inventory. So I would say, just quickly going back here, this is not even, maybe this is 25% for inventory, 30% for PPC launch, and then the buffer is actually not even 30%, it's 45%, because you can see how much more units you need to keep staying in stock. But anyways, jumping back to our PPC. So you're building the negative targeting list to avoid wasted clicks as much as you can, wasted spend. Now the rule number 4 is bidding strategy. Now I'll quickly talk about what they even mean. There is up and down bidding, dynamic, down only, and fixed bids. Now by default, and I want you to pay attention to this, by default all of your campaigns will be preset to up and down. That's kind of like a way of Amazon. You want to extract more advertising dollars from you. You do not do defaults. We are experienced people. You watched my videos, you understand how to optimize advertising, and you aren't even going to do down only, what most people suggest. You're going to do fixed bids. Now the common school of thought was launch with fixed bids, sort of bypass that like a trust factor that the campaign has, and then switch it to down only. I run all of my accounts at fixed bidding. We want to have as much control over what placement the keyword shows up. It's a bit more advanced, and there's going to be a separate video about that, but we launch it in fixed bidding strategy for your launch and going forward. Now for bids so by the way, for negative targeting video, there's going to be a separate video. I'm going to link that right here. It shows you how to build a negative keyword list using AI. Yeah, and that's sort of how you set up a campaign, and this is a good set of, like, say 5 campaigns for the week number 1. And the goal is to just, it's not to be on the number 1 biggest keyword. Like if I'm launching workout gloves, probably if I don't have a big capital, I'm not targeting workout gloves to begin with, but I am targeting specific 4-word, 5-word phrases that are more relevant to my product. Considering that I've sold in this niche, I know the competitive space very well, and I know the keywords. So one of the keywords that was good for launching was workout gloves with wrist wrap. The more specific it is, the better. So you can already see that this keyword exists, and this is one of the keywords that can be good in the initial set of the campaign that you launch. Now the next part is going to sound super counterintuitive. Now the next part is going to sound super counterintuitive. But if your launch goes well, do not scale. Here is a graph showing sales spiking and then hitting 0, and you don't want that to happen to you. The most dangerous part for a bootstrap business like yours, launching a product on Amazon and FBA, is your product works so well and then it runs out of stock. And for some reason, to get that initial traction, the very traction you got in the first months, it's just going to be so much more difficult, and you'll need more inventory to get to that same spot that you needed in the months 1 to begin with. So I kind of recommend, if you do launch and then you run out of stock and for some reason you still don't have enough reviews, just relaunch it. But just keep in mind that you need to avoid the periods of a stock out, because when you come back your ranking is gone and you just have to launch all over again. Now, if you see your sales spiking too fast, I recommend raising your price slightly. There is a couple of benefits to that. Get a better profit, you increase your profit margin, but you also slightly reduce that sales velocity. Raising by $2 to $3, it does two things. Like I said, it slows down the sales and then it increases your profit margins. And then if you do run out of stock, I do not recommend you drastically reduce sales velocity. So one of the ways was the price, just a gradual sales reduction, but you don't want to go from 10 to 5 to 2 to 1 units a day. You want to end on a high note, because it's a kind of the good history you leave your Amazon listing with, and then I'd say you have at most a couple of weeks to relaunch it. If it's more than a couple of weeks, months or two, you have to relaunch your product, and I recommend a new listing to begin with. Launching with limited capital is stressful, and it forces you to be a better marketer to understand all the technicalities when it comes with Amazon advertising. You cannot hide behind a big budget. You have to play your cards right. You have to find the most relevant keywords. You have to understand how Amazon PPC works and how that sort of pushes your product to page 1. And what I didn't share in this video is one of the product launches we've done recently, and this is kind of the very framework that I'm talking about. Limited set of campaigns, the most relevant keywords, provided that unfortunately this client is low on stock. We did not push the advertising too hard. We kept the SEO as extremely low, and I would say that's kind of like an anomaly for the product launch. But you can see the kind of results we've achieved. So starting at around last month, and this is all real data by the way, starting last December, limited capital, we did a short boost to get that ranking boost here, and sort of dwindled this down given that we are running low on stock. And you can see how effective is this strategy that I'm talking about works for the Amazon PPC launch. For the Amazon PPC launch to work, you also have to have better images, like spending a lot on photography just to decrease your PPC budget, better keywords, better discipline. And honestly, most brands that start lean, most brands that start lean, they start to be profitable sooner because they understand how they need to be efficient from day one. I'm planning a follow-up video on how to launch with even less capital by negotiating with suppliers a lower MOQ. Let me know if you're interested to see it. I've worked with a lot of suppliers in the past, launching different brands, workout gloves, skincare products, and I do have experience working with factories and how to vet them, how to source them, and how to get the best deal. If you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. And if you want to see a few more guides I've published, here is the PPC setup guide and here is the listing optimization guide. Feel free to check out these videos as well. And if you want to learn more about PPC or listing optimization, here is the PPC guide here, and here is the listing optimization guide here, and it will all make your launch better.